It's Larry O'Connor alongside Mercedes Schlepp on this Thursday morning. It's O'Connor and Company, and we turn now to Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin with an absolute blockbuster story. Senator Johnson, thank you for sharing it with us.
Morning, guys. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you. We are. So you and your colleague, the esteemed Chuck Grassley of Iowa, you put out a statement yesterday regarding a whistleblower that has revealed something incredibly disturbing during the Obama-Biden era. Tell us what we've learned.
Yes, we had a whistleblower come to our office, basically giving us evidence that during the negotiations for the Iranian agreement, John Kerry, other individuals in the State Department, blocked the FBI's attempts to arrest, to lure people that are on the sanctions list, people that pose a terrorist threat to America, blocked them from being arrested. And we don't know the full extent of this, so we've sent oversight letters asking for communications between Secretary Kerry, people like Assistant Secretary Blinken, and any information, any communication they had within the State Department involved in the JCPOA and
wow.
A number of individuals. So again, this is just breaking. We only have the beginnings of this. It'd be the start of an investigation, but it is troubling because Congress passed a law. It's a bipartisan law that it said that the administration can't do this. They have to continue to enforce the sanctions, and they didn't.
So, Senator, let me ask you this: why did it take the whistleblower so long to reveal these records, considering that this happened back in the Obama-Biden administration?
Again, I really can't put myself inside the whistleblower's head in terms of why they waited now. Speculation. Maybe they're seeing similar types of patterns right now with the Biden administration, continue to coddle Iran. I mean, you take a look at our policy toward Iran. It is insane what the Obama administration did and now what the Biden administration is doing. They coddle Iran. They, as a result, lifted sanctions, allowing hundreds of billions of dollars to flow into the largest state sponsor of terror. Iran used that for their military. They use that to fund the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas. It emboldens Iran and makes the world a far less secure place.
Yeah.
And that's how did Hamas have the wherewithal to carry out the attack against Israel, the brutal attack, the slaughter? Well, they're backed by Iran, and we have coddled Iran, giving them that capability.
We're speaking of Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and this is a developing story that broke yesterday afternoon. A whistleblower has come forward, and I just want to lay this out so everybody understands. There are 8 separate cases from 2015 and 2016 where the FBI was ready to make arrests, including one involving an Iranian subject on a terrorism watch list. And the State Department intervened and told the FBI to stand down and not make those arrests. By the way, when the Trump administration came in, they lifted that block, and the FBI ended up arresting 2 Iranian targets. They captured them successfully and arrested them. So basically, you're telling me that John Kerry, as the Secretary of State, and President Obama, Vice President Biden, they deliberately stopped the FBI from capturing terrorists who were in this country because they were more concerned about diplomacy with Iran.
Potential terrorists or other people that were helping Iran evade sanctions, so they could arm themselves and their state-sponsored terrorists.
Yeah, we know what they do with that money. We just saw it on October 7th in Israel.
Precisely. And again, it's an insane foreign policy. It was insane back under the Obama administration. It just was so frustrating to listen to Obama administration officials come before Congress, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and talk about how they thought they could prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon if we just incentivized them. There's no way that Iran wasn't going to pursue a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
No country would put up with the sanctions that were being leveled against Iran if they weren't absolutely dedicated to becoming a nuclear power. Because all they would have had to do to integrate with the world is to say, we're not going to do this. Come and inspect us. We're not going to develop a nuclear weapon. So, again, it's just a fantasy to think that we could enter an agreement funnel hundreds of billions of dollars into Iran, and all of a sudden they start behaving. We just all we did is fuel their terrorism.
By the way, there's documentation for this, including an unclassified email between then Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Secretary Kerry, where Kerry says now is not a good time to be requesting approvals for extraditions or lures on Iran CP cases. And there seems to be tension between Lynch and Kerry about this. Since when does the State Department have a veto over the Department of Justice? Is that your understanding of how the executive branch works?
Well, it works differently in each different administration, and really follows the lead of what the president wants to do.
Unbelievable.
So, again, in this case, Obama wanted to do a deal with Iran, and that took precedence over the sanctions on Iran. There was also an interesting little tidbit where Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, and Secretary Kerry are in the same principals meeting, and that's when she was going to confront him, it appears like. But as soon as that meeting ended, he gathered up his papers and he hightailed it out of there. Yeah, there was obviously apparently was some tension inside the Obama administration, but in the end, those who were coddling Iran, they won.
Now, Senator Johnson, what do you think about who knew what? In addition to Secretary of State John Kerry, I mean, my feeling would be that obviously Kerry would have advised Joe Biden, and I would say advise not only Obama but even Joe Biden on this. So, is there going to be an effort to figure out, did Joe Biden know anything when he was vice president? Was he involved in these conversations? Because I do think it raises a serious question as to not only Obama's involvement but Biden's involvement in this.
So, Mercedes, the problem we have is that people that work in the administration just thumb their nose at Congress's oversight responsibility. Yeah. It's largely because Congress has allowed our oversight authorities to atrophy. We don't enforce them to the extent we should, and as a result, they just ignore us. So, particularly when it's an adversarial type of relationship, when you've got one party trying to do oversight against the administration of another party. Now, I think our best hope would be for President Trump to win, take over the State Department, and then those records might be made available to us. Remember, we were trying to extract all kinds of information out of Mike Pompeo's State Department. We never got it. Okay, we were trying to get information out of the CIA with Gina Haspel. We never got it. So it's again, the deep state does not feel they're even accountable to a president. But it wasn't Trump that was the roadblock here. He wanted to get this information out as well.
Right.
The bureaucrats in the agencies just, they look at all of us. The president, they look at Congress. This too shall pass. We're the permanent power.
That's right. These elected officials shouldn't get in the way of our agenda that we're trying to. In fact, you mentioned that. I just want to point this out because Senator Johnson, you were one of the leading voices exposing the fraudulent Russian collusion investigation that started at the FBI, the counterterrorism unit that called it Operation. I've blocked it out now. The operation that was investigating Donald Trump. Of course, the major player there was ex-FBI official Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok is copied on some of these emails telling the FBI to stand down with these Iranian terrorists. So in other words, the counterterrorism unit of the FBI was gung-ho, full steam ahead, investigating Donald Trump and his campaign on the fraudulent Russian collusion hoax, but they took a back seat when it came to actually stopping Iranian terrorists or people who were helping and aiding Iranian terrorists. You can't make this up, Senator Johnson.
No, the FBI thoroughly corrupt. Okay, I hate to say that. Again, they're wonderful agents below the top, but at the top of the agency, it's a thoroughly corrupt agency. It's been weaponized against the American public. But that was Crossfire Hurricane was the investigation.
Crossfire Hurricane, thank you. I'm blocking it out.
If you remember Colonel Vindman,
yes.
the individual who betrayed President Trump, he kept talking about the consensus opinion of foreign policy. Like he was the power in terms of what the consensus ought to be toward Ukraine. So, hey, Colonel Vindman, the President of the United States sets foreign policy, not a bunch of bureaucrats to develop a consensus. So again,
it's a consensus of one.
The best example of just how these bureaucrats run amok and they just ignore presidents, they ignore Congress.
Senator Johnson, thank you, and again, Senator Grassley's ongoing efforts here, and at the very least exposing this, and hopefully if we get a majority in the Senate, we could actually do something more about it. But I know you're doing as much as you can. Thank you, sir. Always good to talk with you.
Have a great day.
He is he's the honey badger of the Senate because he comes
and
from the badger
has a
state.
97% CPAC rating. 97.
97. It's
Gosh.
726 now.